Hi, back with another video. I'm Kimberly, excuse me, founder of the Infinite Spark Collective, and this is the third video for the Sovereignty series, Beyond the Mainstream. Sorry, just needed a sip of water there. I've already covered this particular issue, but if you honestly are exhausted by the endless loop of manifestation coaches and self-help and spiritual people basically essentially feeling like they're forcing you to do things in order to work out and in terms of chasing the external outcome or chasing what you're trying to manifest, if that's making you feel awkward and out of place, this series will explain what to do about it. And today, it's going to get real, folks. The biggest mistakes I made while trying to manifest union with my twin flame. Welcome to the Sovereignty series, and I hope this will give you some insight. If you've spent any time in the mainstream community for twin flames or soul conscious relationships, you already know. You already know what's going on out there and the exhaustion that it brings to you. You've done the endless checklist of rules. You have to keep your vibration fairly squeaky clean. Heal every shadow before breakfast, pass every arbitrary test, and master the art of energetic gymnastics just to keep someone else from running away. You've been told that if you slip up, feel heavy, or check your phone with a little too much anxiety, or, you know, say something wrong, or do this or do that, you've ruined your manifestation and you've pushed your union further away. It turns out what's supposed to be a time for your deepest reflection into yourself and the deepest reflection of love in all forms becomes a second job where you're constantly managing your own mind like a prison warden. And I know this trap a little too more intimately than I'd like to tell you, but I live right in the middle of it. And I've told you before, my roommate, he is also my twin flame. Now, we've never had the talk. We may never have the talk. And since I've dropped doing the manifesting, he's dealing with his own shit and running from his own self because of the mirror of the potential that I show him. The potential for his greatness, the potential for what love really is, not what he thinks he's living. The mental loops and everything he's going through, I see it every single day. And his 3D version of himself, I'm going to be completely honest, I friggin' hate it right now, but I'm not going to rush and trying to control it with a bunch of affirmations that don't really do anything except giving him the fear to face himself. Because it ain't me. We're going to strip away that mainstream noise. We're going to look at the three biggest mistakes that I made. And who knows, I may stick a few more in there so that you can stop making them. You can drop the performance and step back into your true power. Let's start with the most massive mistake, and I admit I still make part of this mistake, but I'll get into that in a second. monitoring the 3D and policing your own mind. Mainstream advice teaches you that your mind is a dangerous thing, and it's a weapon that will sabotage you at every second. You're told to watch your thoughts like a hawk, terrified of every single emotion, a moment of doubt, or even a stray human worry or interaction, and trying to analyze it and everything is going to delay your timeline. You end up going on full-time mental guard duty, constantly scolding yourself for feeling normal feelings, for being human. And even though, yes, we are a spiritual being having a human experience, we are human. We need to remember that. So, what do you do with that physical mirror? You take the exact same hypervigilance, and if you have ADHD, you know what I'm talking about, or anxiety, and you point it outward. You become a detective, searching for clues that what you're doing in terms of the manifestation is actually working. You constantly check for texts, for analyzing social media activity, for watching their behavior and measuring every little single shift in the physical environment to see if things are getting better or worse. Now, I just told you I live as a roommate with my twin flame. So for me, that is about as real as it gets. Now, because I've dropped the manifesting and I'm working on myself and trying to balance myself and get back into peace and presence and joy and harmony with myself. And I'm not talking just strictly spiritual work. On the end screen of this video, as with the last two in this series, you'll see a link to a playlist I made with Brian Ridgway's stuff. I suggest you go have a look at that. And if you don't like how he talks or you don't like what he says, then either you're not ready for it or you just haven't come to terms with what's really going on with you. And I'm only saying that. I'm being direct and as gentle as I can be, because if manifesting isn't working for you, you're not doing it wrong. You're doing it from the wrong mentality. You're doing it from the wrong headspace. And it's an internal confliction, because once you figure out you're manifesting from fear of, I don't have it, I want it, I need it, it'll give me what I want, or the fear that comes from the conditioning of everything everyone ever told you while you were growing up, said to you, all of that, like what I went through. I was told no man would ever love me because I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'll never make anything out of myself. I used to hear that from my stepfather and my own father all the time. My mother was also not there for me. They loved me, but they only knew what they only could give me what they knew. Okay? Because I'd hear conflicting stories from my mother saying, don't bother dreaming about being a teacher or being an accountant or being whatever my dream was at the time when I was a kid. She said, I'm training you to be a housewife and a mother. And then my stepfather would come and say, no man will ever want you. You're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're whatever. So I grew up my entire life feeling totally worthless. And I carried that into my past, albeit karmic relationships. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I started to recognize that that was my programming. So I am thanking the universe for finally waking me up to sit and listen to Brian Ridgway, because I bought his books in 2024 and in 2025, and I watched his videos and they got me like set off, right? But that was my spiritual ego. And yes, you have a spiritual ego. It's the one that thinks you're above everybody else's teachings, that you know it all when it comes to spiritual work, and they're all wrong, and all that. Excuse me while I adjust my chair. There. Um, The reality that I had to wake up to, hypervigilance over both your internal thoughts and your external reality is a full-time job living in fear, right? Or as the psychologists call it, flight, f- fight, flight, fear, flight, fright, freeze, or fawn. Okay? When you treat your thoughts like a bomb waiting to go off, and when you treat your physical environment like a scoreboard that dictates your worth to you, you're trapped on a hamster wheel, on a treadmill. That isn't creation. That's just anxiety wearing a spiritual outfit. Okay? And let's be honest. We've already had this conversation, right? You deep down at the very core of yourself already know you're already whole, complete, and you have everything. Do not spiritually gaslight yourself. Do not spiritually bypass yourself, because that's the spiritual ego pushing away the mentality, saying you can heal it with, excuse me, some quick fix, like saying an affirmation, like meditating, like whatever. Okay? When you are hustling to try to force a dynamic, okay, you hand over the external scorecard. You tie your emotional stability, your sense of safety, your sense of peace, your self-worth, your validation, your whatever, to that other person. And you watch for their changes, and when it shows up and validates or acts how you want them to act, that's what you're seeking. Okay? You're seeking for the external to show you who you are, to show you how worthy you are of that conscious soul connected relationship. Okay? Without realizing it, you hand over your peace and your sovereignty and become a hostage to someone else's unpredictable actions and emotional weather. Because as spiritually connected as the two of you are, most of us, the majority of us in separation from our twin flame, and in my case, it's not physical separation. Technically, it is because he's with someone else. But when it's emotional and mental separation, and even physical, you're still spiritually connected, but you can't control what's going on in the 5D, okay? And that's not for you, but that's what we're taught. We're taught if we do all these 3D things like the affirmation and the manifesting techniques, you can control what happens in the 5D. Mm-mm. Your soul already knows the way through this soul connected relationship long before your conscious mind even catches up, if it ever catches up. You've made that other person the source of your well-being. You've made that other person the source of your peace. You've, you know, done that because that's what you think you have to do to manifest. You put it, your peace and your sovereignty, it's like you handed it over to them on a platter saying, my worth, my everything is, has to come from you. And what you've done is just created a friction within yourself. But because you hand it over, and this is what the manifesting community teaches you, is literally that's what you're doing, is you're handing it over. It comes back to you feeling like threats. So like I said, you're either going to go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawning mode. Okay? And if you're not familiar with what freeze and fawning are, okay? let me just give you fight, flight. I can't spell. Yes, I'm typing this in while we're talking. They are, and I'm actually gonna, I would suggest that you go to Google, or the Google, as some of my friends call it, and they are survival responses, because when you do all this manifesting stuff from a place of fear, and then you get reactions back that, one, you don't expect, two, you're searching for, expecting it to give you your worth and your validation and everything else, you go into one of these four responses, and they're not linear, and sometimes they're combined. So let me just go through them for you. This is what I have come to understand. Spiritual work is also deeply tied in to mental and emotional work. They don't negate each other, and they're not compartmentalized. But when you try to start manifesting anything, and yes, in this video we're talking about twin flame union. And by the way, I still love my twin flame dearly. I don't like his 3D version. I don't have to like his 3D version right now, but that's on him. That is not on me. I am not accepting responsibility for being my sovereign self. It triggers him, and he's going through these as much as I have gone through when I realized I was trying to manifest out of fear, lack, and desperation. But because the mirror I'm showing my twin flame is the power of his greatness, the capability of what he can be when he's with me, and the power of a love so pure and varied, not just unconditional, but love in every form. That's what twin flames are. It's not romanticized. Please do not keep thinking it's strictly romantic. Okay? That's the other thing the manifesting community tells you when you're trying to manifest a specific person, or in my case, union with my twin flame. They romanticize it. Yes, it can become a romantic relationship, but there's so much else that it is. It's love and emotional transparency and support. And I don't just mean emotional support, I mean in every form. Joy, everything. It's all of it. But that's hard for the mind to comprehend when you're not in it. Okay? When I began to realize that why I was trying to manifest was coming from my fear-based response, and this is what my twin flame is going through right now, because I actually experienced it today, and I have over the last few days. But when you realize you're going through trying to manifest a specific person and it's not working, or you get little breadcrumbs, or stuff like that, and you get all hooked into that, you need to learn to stop and realize where you're manifesting from. And usually it's because we're in survival mode. I've talked about this as something different before. That's really fear, lack, and desperation. When you're manifesting from that, when you get to the root of that, it's survival response. It's survival mode. Excuse me. There are four survival responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fighting as a survival response, trying to face or beat a threat, it shows up as anger, yelling, or arguing. Flight, trying to run away or escape from danger. It shows up as panic, rushing, or avoiding places. That's what my twin flame does whenever he sees me now. And he got a little angry at me today over something he said was okay before. So he's going through cognitive dissonance, but that's another story. Freeze, shutting down and staying still when you cannot run or fight. It shows up as feeling stuck, going blank, or zoning out. And fawning. This happens in a lot of karmic relationships. It's happening in my twin flames karmic relationship. They're in a sunk cost fallacy right now, and they're fawning a lot of it. Trying to please or agree with a threat to stay safe. It shows up as people pleasing, saying yes to everything, and hiding your own needs and not expressing them. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Does any of that sound familiar to you? Fawning happens to also be something that comes from PTSD or CPTSD, chronic post-traumatic stress disorder. I have gone through so much abuse in my life that it really created that in me. And it's not a comfortable feeling. If it was, um, I know for a fact that I would be, if I knew what I know now, it would be really, really different. And as I was saying, I've been trying to follow my notes here just so I don't get off topic, but sometimes it's how my brain works. When you're trying to force a dynamic with your specific person, with your twin flame, you're keeping that external scorecard and validating yourself based on that. Essentially, because I had just said you've made them the source of your well being, of your worth, of your validation, of your peace, and of your sovereignty. And what the manifesting community teaches you to do is to just energetically fix it. That's where the illusion of control kicks in. You start using spiritual tools, manifestation hacks, mental acrobatics, not out of a place of power, but out of a place of absolute panic. I have just gone through the realization of that. That's why I have stopped doing what's in the manifestation community, and that's why I'm going to go through Brian Ridgway's material as well as Michael Singer's material, Byron Katie's material. I got a lot of friggin' reading to do. Um, all the links for that and what I just talked about, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response will be in the comments. But when you energetically try to fix or manipulate a dynamic because you're terrified you aren't actively managing it or that you won't get it, you'll lose them completely and you'll lose yourself more than anything. Trying to control another person's, trying to control another person um, through force, if you will, is the fastest way to drain your own energy. It's the fastest way to do anything. And if you hear that right now, he's vacuuming, so I'm going to talk a little quieter. Now, which brings us in to the next mistake I made. Falling into passive waiting under the guise of surrender. We've all heard the manifesting community and the twin flame community say you just need to surrender and let go. But what does passive waiting look like? And what does surrender look like? Passive waiting, even though you've stopped the affirmations, even if you've stopped the manifesting techniques, and you say, look, I've done the work, I should have it by now. Passive waiting looks like you're living your life as you always do, while still secretly watching, checking, collecting data, and measuring whether things are getting closer or further away in the 3D. You pretend you've let go, but underneath it all, you're just white knuckling it, waiting for the next fix, waiting for the other shoe to drop, or for the universe to finally hand over what you want so that you can finally breathe and relax. True surrender, especially in the twin flame community, but in any manifesting community, is incredibly misunderstood. And it actually took my twin flame union coach, Liz Henderson, to explain it to me because I thought I knew what surrender was. When she explained the difference between passive waiting versus surrender, the light bulb went off and I finally got it. Now, I've already explained passive waiting is you're still checking, you're still checking, you're still checking. You're wondering, is it going to happen? Will it happen? Won't it happen? What markers can I check on the checklist to say, hey, it's coming closer or it's going further away? What surrender is not giving up. You're not giving up. You're not walking away. You're not saying, fuck this. You're not. It's certainly not pretending that you don't love them. Because I don't pretend. I still love him deeply. I have since the day I met him. The day that I came here to look at the place to move in, I asked him for a hug and he gave me one. Why would I ask him for a hug? My higher self said, do it, you'll find out later. So my conscious mind didn't realize what it was showing me. Not until later. Surrender is not giving up. It's not a hard stop. Nope, not doing this. I'm done, walking away. When you say I'm done, it means you're done externalizing, looking at that other person for validation, and you're done accepting the existence of their 3D version as you see it. It doesn't mean you stop loving them, because I still love him. And believe me, it ain't easy, okay? It's not giving up on the hope of physical union, but it is not manipulative strategy used as a psychological trick to get someone to come running back to you. What true surrender actually is releasing the need to determine how, when, or through what circumstances another person finally sees what you see. It means your nervous system is no longer emotionally organized around another person, around another person's timeline. When you truly surrender, you still care deeply. You love them, but your inner settledness, your peace, no longer uses their life, their mood, their proximity to determine your state of being so you can stop holding your breath. Walking away from all these mistakes, you're not walking away per se, you're just stopping them, okay? You're stopping the mistakes in their tracks. It doesn't mean giving up on love or giving up on any of your desires. It simply means dropping the performance of trying to manifest from fear, trying to manifest from being in survival mode, lack, and desperation. That's why I completely stopped manifesting union or trying to force it. I realized that trying to manifest a specific dynamic was just another subtle trap of the control room. Instead, I started doing the real grounded work of resetting my conditioning. I am diving deep now into Brian Ridgway's books, Michael Singer's work, Byron Katie's work, um, and even Vadim Zeland's reality transurfing. So I can learn to look at reality, 3D, in a totally different way and strip away the mental illusions that keep me in fight, flight, freeze, and sometimes fawning mode. And I'm even working through, psychology frameworks like in that book, cognitive behavioral techniques and rational emotive behavioral techniques from this, rather than getting lost in the mainstream spiritual hustle. That doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. I'm just doing spirituality different. I mean, even Brian says, don't you don't need meditation. I'm getting to that part in his course about it's. I'm not saying you don't need it, but we've been taught so much in the way of immature spirituality that you need to do all these techniques to find God, to connect to source. Why do you think, after all this time, I'm going to mention it again, why do you think I call my business the Infinite Spark Collective? Excuse me, because that spark within you is God. It is source. You got a little piece of that when you came down here and you asked to incarnate into this life. Okay? But what happens is everything I've just been talking about, the conditioning. We forget. We forget that we are that energy. And yes, depending on what your spiritual viewpoint is, you're not just God within, but there is a universal source of energy that we can call God. Okay, but really it's an archetype. It's an archetype for peace, presence, and not control, and not frantic trying to do anything. It is peace, it is stillness. And I don't mean stillness sitting still in meditation. It is that, like I said in one of my previous videos, that void where you just are. Period. You, you still know you're in a human body, but you know there's something beyond that when you sit in that space of stillness. True sovereignty begins the moment you put down that scorecard. The moment you stop the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week surveillance of the 3D world around you in terms of your twin flame and realize your peace was never something you had to earn. And it wasn't something you had to gain through a formula or manifestation hack. You are the source. And if you want to dive deeper into this, okay, I'm going to put a list like I am in all my videos now, all the books that I'm currently working through. And believe me, I have so many other things I need to be doing. I don't spend as much time as I'd love to, but I'm going to devote more time to it now as I'm getting closer to launching my business. As I launch the Infinite Spark Collective, a lot of these videos will end up being on my With Me Hub community. And you might get to see a few little things on YouTube periodically or snippets of it. Um, I haven't quite decided yet, but you'll hear from me by video and even in community posts that the hub is open and ready to go. And we are going to go through that. In fact, even in the community hub, I'm going to start um, going through these books that I'm talking about in these videos and putting together things that will help people get out of this mainstream stuff. Well, look, I'm not knocking it. I am really spiritual, very spiritual, eclectically spiritual. But this mainstream stuff that's out there right now, and it just seems I see more and more and more of it, it's overriding teachers like myself because now that I've started doing these kind of videos and stuff, I'm seeing more and more coaches and more teachers like Brian Ridgway come up and say, look, the mainstream stuff doesn't work because you're trying to manifest in survival mode, in panic, in fear and desperation. And that ain't ever going to work. A lot of coaches won't admit it, some will. I'm one of those coaches who will. I know why it didn't work. I know why what I've been doing didn't work. It wasn't because I was a bad person. And it wasn't because I was doing it wrong. It's because of the point of context that I was trying to manifest from. And that's what I want you to understand. When you are in constant fight or flight mode or constant freeze and fawn mode or all of it, which really at the bottom line is fear, lack, desperation, survival mode. When you try to manifest from that point, nothing you do will fix that until you work through the conditioning. You notice I didn't say fix your conditioning because we're always going to have it, right? It's always going to kind of be there in the back of your head. And there may be times that you're going to act from it, even though you go through all this work that I'm saying. And look, I don't want to be throwing like oodles and oodles of stuff at you, but I'm still going to throw oodles and oodles of stuff at you because let's get real here. Okay? There's still work to do, but it's not what the mainstream communities out there are telling you. Do shadow work, do meditation, do affirmations, do all that. That's all mainstream stuff that actually keeps you in fear, flight, freeze, and fawning, and in survival mode, and in panic attack, and in everything else. That's what it does. And it takes a highly intelligent, emotionally and mentally intelligent person to realize, why am I doing manifesting from a place of lack? And I mean a deep recognizing of it. I don't mean just what the manifesting community touts. Because people, they're not going to get into it as deep as I plan to. Maybe coaches like me who teach this kind of stuff when you're trying to manifest out of fear, when you're trying to manifest out of fear and lack, yeah, they'll get into it. But regular coaches won't. Um, and if they do, they won't do it on video. They'll do it privately, which is fine. If you have a coach that does that for you, if you are brave enough and bold enough to say, hey, look, because I did this to my coach, Liz Henderson. I said, look, I finally figured out why it wasn't working. It wasn't what you were teaching me. It's me. It's my trying to manifest out of survival mode because it's all I've known. It's me trying to manifest out of fear and lack because it's all I've known. And I took a lot of those manifesting techniques and I was trying to push that away. I can't do it anymore. And this is not an age thing. I pray to God that anyone who's watching who's younger than me, and I know I'm 60 and I don't look like it, for me to finally have this epiphany now, I'm actually kind of in awe of it. And I think honestly I was recognizing it before, but I kept pushing it away. Just like I said in the video, kept doing it thinking the more I affirm, the more I script, then all this like stuff that I'm feeling will go away. Well, it's until the soul finally screams loud enough where you go, you're in survival mode. That's why you get physically exhausted. It's your body's way of saying, stop. It's not working because you're doing this from the wrong place. And not just a mindset, but you're doing it from a wrong emotional standpoint. You're doing it from a wrong spiritual standpoint. And you need to get your shit together. Okay? Meaning your mindset, meaning your energy, meaning everything. I really want to thank you for spending time with me today. And I think that 3 videos this week is enough. I'm going to go work on more stuff and I'll be back to see you soon.